Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United still haven't sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but we have got Paul Ince on the show. He's laughing. We've got to laugh, otherwise we'll cry. Incompetent reigns. We'll talk about the way the club's being run, because obviously you were at the club and I want to know what your thoughts are on the way the club's being run. But ultimately, this morning, we've been waiting since Saturday lunchtime. The club haven't said much. They've started to leak it out to their, journalistic friends now that, we're sort of getting this morning that he'll be here for the Watford game, which I find ridiculous. And that the reason for this is because they still want to give him more time and they can't really find a replacement. I mean, how do you see that as a stance from United? And, should he still be getting more time after, we spoke about this 2 weeks ago after Liverpool. I've just seen what was a crap performance. Don't know what you thought about it.
The thing is, I don't understand where. I mean, you said two things there. One, he's taken a Watford game. This is according to the journalists that are coming out with their stuff. Two, I need to find a replacement. So, if they give him more time, they don't need to find a replacement because they're giving him more time. There's a lot of crap coming at United. A lot of contradiction. 1 minute doing this, 1 minute doing that. If they lose the Watford game, I think they'll have no choice but to sack him. All right, and I hate to say it because I hate managers being sacked. As I said before, I've been sacked, so it's not a nice feeling. But if they win the Watford game, then we're back where we are. Where again, they've got to beat Villarreal. Then they go to Chelsea and they get smashed up against Chelsea, and then they say, right, we give him the next game. It's the same old. It's the same old stuff going on all the time at United with this hierarchy, So we've seen it this week. We've seen Daniel Farke lose his job after winning against bloody Brentford, because there's no progression. We've seen Dean Smith get sacked last night because Martin Perslow says we've not progressed. We saw on Saturday that Man United hadn't progressed one bit compared to the likes of Liverpool, Manchester City. After the Liverpool game, Ollie's words were, we're not going to give up now because we're too close. Now, I presume he means we're too close to Liverpool and Chelsea. All right? That's what he meant, Liverpool, Chelsea.
Yeah.
And Manchester City, okay? Yes, after the weekend against Manchester City, when he was asked by Jeff Shreves about the disparity between you and City, could you see it? He said, yeah, we're miles away. But 2 weeks ago, you were too close.
Yeah.
And so we're contradicting. So I don't know where we're going with this United thing. And it reminded me, and you said, we talked about the embarrassment of getting beat by Liverpool 5-0. All right? And you said before we come on air that game was this game was even worse. All right? And you know what? I wouldn't disagree with you because one, I watch a lot of nature programs. All right,
Nature.
So
I said something else. Yeah, go on.
No, nature. I do. Honestly, all joking aside, and it reminded me of a kind of scene in the nature program where these great white sharks are hunting down the seals. Okay, and when they capture the seals, they don't kill them. They toy with them. They flick them up in the air, and they do it for about an hour, and then they swallow them and kill them off. That's what City did to United. All right, they hunted them down. They toyed with them. They messed about them for an hour and a half, and then put them to bed. That's what it felt like to me. It
was torturous. You're right. Yeah,
it was torturous. That's what they tortured Manchester United. And if I wasn't doing this show with you, Marky, I would have turned the TV off after 45 minutes. You know what I mean? I play golf every Saturday in a golf tournament at Heswell, right? My local club, and I didn't play this Saturday because I thought, I think we could win this. I think United. I want to watch this game because I want to see something from United. I want to see the bounce back from Wednesday night. Don't say Wednesday night against Atlanta was great. They got lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky, so lucky. The Tottenham performance was against a pathetic Tottenham team, which cost the manager his job, as I said before. But Saturday I was thinking.
Yeah, but you know what? You just make a point there. Spurs were pathetic against us, and they sacked Nuno. We were worse than Spurs against City, and he's still in. I think United's performance was, I said, like walking into Old Trafford with white flags, waving them before the kickoff, saying "We surrender." It was the worst Manchester derby I've ever watched, and there might be some fans out there. You might have played in some. I don't think you did. I've never seen City do that, let alone United. Even when they were crap and they used to play you lot, they'd never walk into a derby and go, "We surrender to the better team." That's what Everton won't do it with Liverpool. Spurs won't do it with Arsenal. In a derby, you do not walk in there with a white flag and go, "Look, we're playing with a back seven. Let's try and not get beat." It was just disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And I can't believe the club haven't sacked him, because that's the bad enough losing to Liverpool, but doing that in a derby in your own manner, disgraceful how low they've taken this football club.
This is the thing, and it's the manner. As you said, anyone can lose football matches. Anyone, it's how you lose them. And we've seen 2 games, Liverpool and City, the weekend. That the way they lost them, there was no fight, there was nothing, there's no unity, no togetherness. They looked lost souls. That's what they looked like, lost souls individually. They looked all over the place, didn't know what they were doing, no talking, no leadership, nothing like that. You should have no tackling, no one laying a glove on anybody. 89, when I first joined United, we went to Main Road. And listen, United fans remember it, because I'll never forget it. And we got beat 5-1. But it wasn't a 5-1 game. We could have scored 5 or 6. They could have scored 6 or 7. It was one of those games. It wasn't like the first whistle, bang. It was let it known that we're coming here to play. We're not messing about. Mate, United are at home. They're at home. No one laid a glove on anyone. It's a derby game. I'm not asking someone to go right through someone, but at least get the crowd up, get the crowd going. The crowd were up for this, and the players let them down. And it was, as I said, Keeney said men against boys. It was men against babies. That's what it was.
What did you think about that? Because you mentioned the players there. Obviously, we've seen Gary Neville and Roy Keane to a certain extent, sort of blame deflecting because Ollie's their mate, maybe, I don't know. But they certainly put the blame on the players. And then this morning we're hearing that, Bruno Fernandes, this is a story from the Mail, but they quote, they're using Bruno's name, saying that Bruno feels he's not getting enough direction and development as a player. Ronaldo can't believe how far the club's fallen since he's come back. Obviously, I had Maguire saying, the players lack belief in the second half. We've spoken about the tactics. I mean, you've been a player. You're playing against Man City, who were so well drilled in a rainy Old Trafford. We're tracking the Stretford end for 45 minutes in the second half. It's pissing it down with rain. And Man City's goalkeepers playing little 5-yard passes. They're, in the ball can do anything in the rain. They're so well coached, they could have beaten us with blindfolds. We can't lay a finger on them. Yeah, is that on the players? Because really, one player, I think Gary Neville mentioned courage or something like that, and I'm like, where's he from? The 80s? Like the modern game, it don't matter if you've got courage and desire. These players will just pass the ball around you. Surely it's about tactics. But what did you think about that? Because players have had a lot of stick as well.
Yeah, listen. Ultimately, listen, you're governed by how your manager sets you out. A team should resemble the manager, the person that's in charge of that team. And that is Ollie, Mickey Phelan, and his other 2 staff. All right, so the team should resemble that. You look at Conte's teams, Pep's teams, even Mourinho's teams, even though football's crap or boring, that resembles the person that is a character of that person. Now, you're right. Saturday lunchtime, it was. I knew it was going to go back with a 3-5-2. I knew that for a fact, because as I said to you the last week when we did the show, unfortunately, he's lucky he can still play that system because he's playing Manchester City, and he ain't going to go 4-3-3 because they get opened up. And obviously, after the Tottenham game, he presumed it worked. We won 3-0. That's the way to go forward. He did that against Atalanta, got away with it. But when you've got a City team that comes to Old Trafford and dictates, Manchester City and my side will never come to Old Trafford and dictate the game. We're at Old Trafford, That's not, and that's what I'm saying. That this is not about courage. All right, it's about guidance. It's about leadership. Every time Manchester get the ball, a player would move so another one could get the ball. It was like a chessboard with Pep. We didn't have a clue. They kept it for 5 minutes. We'd have kept it for 5 seconds. All right. So, irrespective of what team you're playing against, if you've got no leadership and no direction, from your management and how we're going to play, then you're just playing as individuals, and then you start looking at everybody else when things go wrong, as we saw the last couple of games. You know, this is where United are. There's no direction. Ollie said, well, we need to get back to how we were at the start of the season. All right, when we first did this show, we had one game at the start of the season, Leeds at home. I said it was the perfect storm for them because of the way Leeds play.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I've actually seen the Man United after that to where Ollie said we need to get back to where we were at the start of the season. We're 12 games in. We are 12 games in. What is the Man United way? I don't know what to make, because now we're trying to play in counter-attacking football. You know, so what are we? And he said, well, we need to get back to the Man United way, but the way you're playing is not to make that way. You've been there for years. Can we, by now, we should be able to see the Man United way. I see the Pep way. I see the Klopp way. I see the Tuchel way in 8 months. Yeah, he's been there for years, and he's still saying we need to get back to where we were at the start of the season. This comes from the manager. The players take orders from the manager. If you don't do what the manager says, like we did under Sir Alex Ferguson, you'll be off the park. Someone else will come in and do a job. That's how it works. You know, I've always said, and when Neville talks about courage, and I get what he says to a certain degree, I've always said, and you fans will know this, when you buy a player for Man United, you say, yeah, he's a Man United player. All right? He's a Man United player. He's a Man United player. Roy Keane, yeah, he's a Man United player. Brian Mofton. So there's a history of people saying, yeah, he's a Man United player. And what is a Man United player? All right? Because you never say, well, he's a Liverpool player or he's a Tottenham player. You say he has to be a certain person or player to play for Manchester United, okay, as a player. And that is, you know, as coach, never being brave, doing the things right, standards in training, every day in training, expectation that you're going to get from the Man United fans week in and week out. Can you deal with it mentally? Can you deal with the pressure they're going to put on top of you? You know, can you fight back when things go wrong? All these caveats, these are things that Manchester United players have to play for Man United. And I look at that team and I think we maybe only got 1 or 2 or 3. And that concerns me. That concerns me. So it does come from the top. Leadership comes from the top. And I look at that game on Saturday and I thought, you know, it was just up. So I was so far away from it, and there was no reaction. I mean, if it wasn't for David De Gea, well, it could have been 6.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, it could have been 6. It could have been 4 against Atalanta. It could have been 8 against Liverpool. It could have been 8 against Leicester. We're sitting here talking about teams who could have scored 8 goals against Manchester United.
And that's what I mean. It's like, you know, we're waking up this morning, and I know, you know, for me, Ollie should have been sacked after Liverpool. So I'm not going to sit here and start raging about sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because
no,
he should have been sacked 2 weeks ago. My standards of when he should have gone was after Liverpool. He's already sacked in my mind. What I can't believe, Paul, is how he's still here. And I put a tweet out this morning and I said, you know, I fell into this trap for 2 years, but now I've woken up. Bloody hell, I've woken up. And the myths around Solskjaer, they're all myths. Like, you think about it. Like, what I want to ask you is, and you might not have an answer, is why do you think maybe Sir Alex, but certainly the board are saying let's stand by him? Because the things that he's meant to be good at, right? He's brought the good times back to United. What good times? He's took us to finals. What? Finals that Van Gaal and Mourinho won. He's a good man manager. Well, ask Donny van der Beek, Paul Pogba, Anthony Martial, Tellez, and Lingard and everyone else if he's a good man manager. His style of football's worse than Jose. I mean, the only reason I think he doesn't develop youth, he does not develop youth. I will never have that he develops youth. I can't find a positive from these 3 years, apart from we sung a song about him for a few months after we sacked Mourinho, and it was quite good. You know, I was there outside Old Trafford like a prat, singing and dancing, singing Ollie's at the wheel. It was a nice time for 3 months, but as soon as we gave him the contract, he got smashed at Goodison Park 2 weeks later. I mean, it's been downhill ever since we gave him a contract. The only tick in the box for me is that he's mates with the Glazers and Woodward. That's the only reason I think he's still in a job, because I'd love the, you know, we never get communication, but I would love the club to come out and explain why they're not sacking a man. Like you said, when Villa have sacked Dean Smith, Nuno's been sacked for much less at clubs that are nowhere near as big as United. So our ambitions are below that of a Villa and a Spurs. We can all accept that. But I can't understand why they want to keep a manager who's playing terrible football, who half the squad don't like anymore, who the fans have accepted needs to go. it can only be, I don't know. Is it just about money, incompetence? What is it in your mind that they won't make that decision?
Listen, I think just going back to the start of this, and as I said before, things were bad under Mourinho. Yeah, he won the FA Cup, he won the Europa League final, but from a environmental point of view, it was bad. All right, and obviously all the stuff was coming out with Pogba and all different players. We knew it wasn't getting on. He was fighting with the press, Mourinho. So you can imagine the place stunk at that time. Yeah, Ollie comes in, as I said, puts his arm around everybody. Everyone's happy. Everyone's smiling. Training's great. Hence why I said that I could have done that. Roy Keane could have done that. Steve Bruce could have done that. Mark Hughes could have done that.
Yeah,
I said that. All right, it was going from the bad to the worst to the great with Ollie. So it was one extreme to another. All right, I could have done that. So could all the ex-Man United players, ex-great players. All right. Once you got the contract, then you show what a manager you're about, what you're about. And he's had 3 years to do that. Okay, he's had 3 years to do it. They will not sack him. Now, as soon as Liverpool result went tits up, the next week he was in the papers with Alex Ferguson. All right, it was like Sir Alex. So I don't know whether Sir Alex has got an import in the board. I don't know whether Sir Alex is saying, well, listen, he's one that I can look after. He's one that I can probably give him more experience. Give him a bit more time. Give him a bit more time. I think that could be the reason. I might be completely wrong, but every time the shit hits the fan, Alex Ferguson turns up at the training ground. It looks stiff to say, look, Alex is here. He's helping me out. We're trying to get forward. We're trying to get things done. We're trying to, wrong things, all that type of stuff. That's what I think.
You know Sir Alex, though. You played underneath him. You know him anyway. What do you think that's about? Because I mean, this is, for me, Sir Alex Ferguson is the greatest influence on my footballing career. I'd never say a bad word against him. Yeah, he wanted us to back Moyes. He was wrong. He bought Jemba. He was wrong. He can be wrong. I think he's very wrong on this, and it surprises me. But he's not the only one doing it. We've seen Gary Neville do it. We've seen Roy Keane do it. These are people we respect as well. Are they just blinded by he's a mate, or I don't know? I can't understand why when everything's staring him in the face. Yeah,
I don't think. I'm not sure about Keane. You know what I mean? And I love Keane. He's a good mate of mine. But he will blame the players like he did on the weekend. He's absolutely slaughtered Fred.
Well, to be fair to Keane, I don't know whether you heard it. He did say it 2 years ago. He said these players will do to Ollie what Mourinho did, which he's always been quite consistent about it being the players. I think that's opinion. He did say that. I think it's the coaching, whatever. But yeah, you're right about that.
Well, the thing is, you talk about, you mentioned about improving a team, all right, and you look how Klopp's players haven't improved underneath them. You look at City players, look at Sterling going from Liverpool to see how he's improved. Now, Bernard Silva was going to leave at the end of last season. Now he looks like one of the best players in the world the way he's playing. So Klopp improves his players. I don't see any improvement in the mate players. I know Ronaldo's Ronaldo, but Wan-Bissaka's gone the other way. Luke Shaw, he was great last season. This year he's gone back to the other way. Harry Maguire's all over the place. Kinney said about, McTominay still learning his trade. He's 25, 26.
Yeah.
No, I mean, let's just get it right.
Even Mika Richards said he's a good young player. There's just this. Fair play to the pundits. They think he's young because there's this myth that he is young. He's only 25, and I think next month, like you say. So
you know what I mean. But even in that 25, he's not improved. He's not gone on under the 3 years under Ollie's tuition and his coaching staff. So if you tell me one player in that team that's improved under Ollie's reign, then yeah, I love that. If you tell me any youth player that's come in and shown that the youth system's working, I'll hold my hand up. If you show me a Phil Foden that City have got, or Arnold at Liverpool who's come through the ranks, then I don't see that at United. I don't see it. So
he's a good example, isn't he, Foden? Because 2 years ago he was a good player. He's a better player now. 2 years ago, Mason Greenwood was a good player. He's still the same player.
Hasn't changed.
He's still a very good player, but he's not. His game's not developed like it should be. Rashford's the same. He's the same player he was 3 years ago. He's not developed. He's not learnt the final ball. He's not learnt the decision making. He's not learnt positional sense. Yeah, he's a brilliant player, but they're not. They just stagnate, don't they? They just stay along a line. They're not going up, and that's why Ronaldo's so good, because you're not going to improve Ronaldo. He is gonna stay at the line because he's done all the development. Loads of players stagnating. You're right.
Yeah, and if you know for a fact, Mark, that if Greenwood or a Rashford end up going to Manchester City, for example, you know they're going to improve. They're going to come on leaps and bounds. Just like the players at Tottenham are going to prove under Conte, because the demands and the standards come from the manager, that they can't get away with things. This is like the players loved Oli because he was nice, he was friendly, it was completely opposite of Mourinho. These players now, and Kinney's right, it is about players. Once you cross that white line, it's about the players on that pitch. But you're still buying to the rules of what the manager wants you to do and how you want to play. So there's no getting away from that. Okay? But I just feel that these players are getting bigger than the manager. Now, all of a sudden, Fernandes gets taken off a couple of times. He don't like it. He doesn't really want to shake the manager's hand. We could see it coming as soon as Ronaldo signed. As great as he's been, this has just caused more problems than anything. Because you can imagine the little cliques, Ronaldo and Fernandes together, and Pogba's little clique. And this is what happens when they're not playing or getting dragged off and you're getting beat. It compounds everything. It compounds.
Are they not right in a way, though? Because if you're Paul Ince and you're playing for Man United back in '94, and Sir Alex Ferguson's taking you off and he's bringing on, I don't know, whoever, and you're playing like this, you're not developing, the team's not where it is. I mean, we're hearing stuff like this morning. There was an article last night that in the dressing room they feel there's favoritism. Players were baffled how Marcus Rashford's ill with the flu, and then he's used in a game in the derby over people who are fit. Ronaldo, as I said, is in shock that players feel they're not being developed. I mean, again, it's, if you're the owner of the football club, this sort of stuff, you've lost the fans, you're losing the players, you're losing the race for fourth when you're meant to be in a title race. I mean, I still don't understand why they've not made the change, but the players are clearly not playing for him, is what I'm trying to say. Whether that's through crap tactics or they've just realised what a lot of us have realised, that this ain't going to work. Well,
listen, as I said, and that's the last thing you want to have as a manager, is have that feeling that the players are not playing for you. Players will suss you out. Players need to look at themselves. If I'm getting taken off in a derby game, first and foremost, I'm going to be absolutely fuming with myself, because that means I haven't done my job. I haven't done what I'm supposed to be put on the pitch to do. I would take responsibility and I look at myself. If we get beat like we did in that derby game, I'll be sitting down with Roy Keane after in the change room, like we used to do all the time, and say, you weren't good at that, I wasn't good at that. We'll talk about it for half hour after the game. How come we got beat there? What do we need to do? That's what it's about. But Luke Shaw got took off on Saturday. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I just think he was just thought, fuck that, I don't want to keep running around. Let me. Honestly, I believe that every player next week, or the week after, when they play Watford away, there was nothing wrong with it. But they just kept running and running and running. I think when you're in a derby game at home in front of your mate United fans, and you get up on a Saturday morning, you think, as a player, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm all about. The crowd's going to be buzzing. It's going to be full house at Old Trafford. Oh, by the way, we're just going to sit back and just watch Manchester City pass the ball, and I'm going to run across the pitch up and down without touching the ball for fucking 90 minutes. I don't come to Man United to do that. I come to Man United to get the ball, take the game to other teams. We're Man United. We take the game to them at home. And we didn't see that. And that's why you kind of sense that. I'm not sure what a massive effect the person might have on Ollie staying. I don't know. But and I'm not here to say that he should lose his job, but when you've got players coming
I'll do that for you.
No, I'm not, as I said, because I've been in that position. But when you've got players coming out now, leaking stuff out to the press, it ain't a good recipe. When you actually see, Fernandes allegedly saying this and players not believing, when they don't believe in the manager and they lose faith in the manager, it's the hardest thing you can have. And,
it's cruel to keep him in a job, though, do you not think? Because I like Ollie, like many United fans, you respect your previous players if they put a shift in for the club. And he has put a shift in for the club. But I respect him as a player. That doesn't mean you're a good manager. And he's not a good manager. And I actually think the Glazers are bad owners. That's not breaking news, but I think they're actually. Ollie might think they're doing him a favour. I think they're just hanging him out to dry. I don't see a way back. I mean, I look at that team against Man City, picks McTominay and Fred again. People think we'll beat Watford. Maybe we will, but long term, you watch West Ham yesterday. I'm sure you did. They won that game because they won the midfield. Like, you've said this before for weeks and weeks. We're never going to win midfield battles with those two in there, and he's never going to drop them. And there's no way back, is there? He's gonna get sacked at some point. And it's I just feel I don't feel sorry for him because any manager can find a way out, but it's not. He's in a bloody horrible situation, and it's getting worse. Players are coming out. Harry Maguire said that we didn't believe in ourselves in the second half. That's a massive kick in the teeth for a manager who found out in front of a bloody microphone that had been said.
I don't feel sorry for Ollie at all. I don't, because he's the luckiest man for me in football. He's managing the biggest club in the world. He's been at Cardiff and Mould. So if I was in his seat now, I wouldn't feel sorry for myself. I'll be getting up every morning and praying to thank the Lord, saying thank you for letting me manage this big club. And when the time's right, as everybody thinks the time's right now, they should want to relieve him of his duties. You can see when he was talking to Jeff Street, you can see the pressure mounting and mounting and mounting. And the Glazers got to have this conversation with Ollie, and you look at him, you think maybe it's time, because you can only take so much as a manager. It's not a great. The manager's a terrible job. It's the greatest job in the world, but it's also could be the worst job in the world, especially when you're under so much pressure. And it looks like the pressure is getting to Ollie. It really, really does. But for some reason that we don't know, is that, as Gary Neville said, he might be there to the end of the season. I think we got to understand that could be the case. But as you said, if they lose at Watford, then it might be a different proposition. But the players have to take responsibility. The players are the ones out there. Harry Maguire says, "Oh, we didn't believe in ourselves in the second half." Well, you did it in the first half, so I'm not sure where he's going with that. I think. You just look at him and Shaw all the time. You always worry about him in defence. I mean, Donny van der Beek, he gets 4 minutes against Atalanta. What worries me is the choices that Ollie makes. Atalanta, Donny van der Beek gets 4 minutes. All right? We spoke about 5 weeks ago about Donny. This is a player who Ollie said to him, "Come to Old Trafford. You're going to start in my team. You're going to cost £40 million. And you're going to be the centre of the hub of the midfield." This is what he said. Donny thought, "Fuck me, this is my dream. This is what I've been waiting for." 2 years down the line, he's on the bench. Right? So Ollie's actually took the piss out of him. Not only has he took the piss out of him, he gives him 4 minutes against Atalanta, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, here's your chance. Go and have 10 minutes against Manchester City where we've not touched the ball for 85 minutes, and show me what you can do."
Yeah.
Now, if I'm Donny van der Beek, I'll listen. I wouldn't have done it, but I would have said, "Fuck that, I ain't going on now. You want to go on for 10 minutes when we not touch the ball for 88 minutes? Now you even take the piss at me even more." But you heard
the crowd. They took the piss out of Ollie because there was just such a massive roar of mocking him. Really, it's everyone knows it's incompetent.
Yeah, and just decisions like that baffle me. They really, really do. And I don't understand. I mean, he stopped Jesse Lingard from going to West Ham because he says he's be part of his team. Your 2-0 down, he doesn't even bring him on. You see the situation with Pogba now. He's getting sent off all the time. All that's starting to flare up again. Pogba will be gone at the end of the season unless a manager comes in, like a Zizi or something like that, to say, "Bang, we're going to change a lot of things here." But we're governed by what the people upstairs say, and if they're just happy to take their dividends at the club, that's great, because we're not talking. We talked about fourth. West Ham are above Manchester United. Dave Moyes had 8 months at Manchester United. 8 months. Look what he's done in West Ham in 2 years' time. In 2 years, he's improved them. The game against Liverpool that I watched yesterday, they were brilliant, West Ham. So that team has improved under Dave Moyes. I'm not to say that he would have done the same at Man United, but you can see the calibre manager that he is to see where West Ham are now compared to Manchester United.
Well, I don't think Moyes should be a Man United manager. I think you're right on that one. But what I would agree with is that he's just beat Liverpool 3-1 and they turned up 2 weeks ago and smashed us 5-0. And if you want to beat Liverpool that's basically what Ollie couldn't do, and Moyes could do it. So Moyes is a better coach than Ollie. I mean, I'd argue you're a better coach than Ollie, Paul. I'd argue most of the Championship managers are better. I don't think he's a very good coach. I think it's been. I think you know, fans have got a right to have that opinion after 3 years, and you can also look at what he did at Cardiff. He's just not a good coach, and I think it goes to the coaches behind him are not good enough as well. But what I would say, I think he will be sacked. You know, I might be in the minority. I think he's going to get sacked. I think he'll be gone by tomorrow. And look, I might be deluded, but he should not get the Watford game. Why are we talking about the Watford game? He should have gone after Liverpool. That Man City result, I could have coached that team better, because I could have told him to go and bloody give Man City the ball and park the bus. It was awful. You know, I don't think he should. I can't believe the standards of this football club that we're talking about Watford when we've been humiliated by Man City and Liverpool. I just can't believe that they think that they can keep giving. Who's after Watford? Chelsea. You know, we're just going to be back here in 3 weeks on a Monday morning going, I can't believe he's still in a job. He's been battered by Tuchel now. Yeah,
but I think this is more hope from the board. I think it's more, well, I mean, normally when you see there's a little pattern, as I said, Villa manager's gone, the Norwich manager's gone. When it's normally sacking season around this time, October, November, and normally you get a few teams that follow suit. And normally they do it international week because it gives them time to get a manager. You know, that's why they've done it, Norwich, and that's why Villa have done it, because it's given them 2 weeks now to try and get someone in. Excuse me. So sometimes teams do panic. I mean, I think Villa panicked in sacking Dean Smith, you know, but I think with Manchester United, I think they might be looking at a replacement. Have they got a replacement? Probably not.
Well, have they not got a replacement? You've worked in the industry. You know, 2 weeks ago, Conte's available. We're hearing that United are not making a replacement because there's no credible option. They want more time for Ollie. They didn't go for Conte because he's too short-term and controversial. And yet we're in the most short-term period of our history. Sticking with a manager who's clearly not good enough, game to game with a shit style of play. It baffles me. And also, Ed Woodward and the Glazers weren't even at Old Trafford on Saturday. I mean, it's just hilarious how shite we are.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest game on the calendar, that and Man United Liverpool, and you know they weren't
at that either.
They weren't at that either. They don't show the faces, so that just says it. You know what affinity they've got with the club and what they've got with the fans. But you're either going to go one or two ways. You can't say, well, we're keeping Ollie because we can't find the natural replacement yet. You can't have that way. You're either going to keep him or you're not going to keep him. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Well, you do the job, wouldn't you? You're available.
I wouldn't want that fucking pressure, that job, I tell you.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, all right, people would probably laugh, but I reckon you, and what I'm saying is there's plenty of people who would do a bounce job or a better job than Ollie. It's like when they used to say there's no value in the market in the summer when we wanted a midfielder. That, you know, it's just bullshit, and people need to not swallow it. You know, there's no credible options in the market. Man United could go to Leicester if they wanted Rodgers and go, there's 30 million. They've got the money, and Leicester would go, okay, he's your manager. Like, you can get any manager, like whether they're in or out of a job.
Yeah, I agree. You know, no disrespect, you got the lad Potter at Brighton doing ever so well. He's got a system. They played great football. We saw that at Anfield last week. You know, they played the way football should be played. So there's enough people. You're right, Brendan Rodgers. You know, so there's people out there. All right, there's people out there. They're just hoping. Again, they're hoping that Ollie can turn it around, and it is, you know, he's had more lives than anybody, but for some reason they want to. You know what? It's a bit like when you tell your son or your daughter, you know what I mean, that you shouldn't be going out with that boyfriend or girlfriend, and the more you keep telling them, the more they keep seeing him, the more they keep digging their heels in. I think this is where we are now. The more pressure that we keep people saying it's got to go, it's got to go. I think the Glazers are saying, stay strong, stay patient. You know what I mean? Edward Woodward. You know, or maybe they wait for Edward to go to bring someone else in before they relieve Oliver's duties. I don't know. But it is farcical. And I think when you're looking at performances, you know, Mark Hughes is a very good manager. Maybe not a legend. You know, Roy Keane. You know, these are people. Listen, I'm not sure whether, you know, Roy Keane would go in there, probably cause so many problems the way he feels. But they need a bit of that. They need a bit of that. At the moment, making out the too nice. They're fragile. You know, you look at their faces and they look frightened. They look frightened when they're at Old Trafford. They look frightened. You know, we're making United. We should have a presence about us, especially at home or anywhere. We should have a presence about us. We should be able to mix, and we can't mix anything.
Well, you said it before. They're too nice, aren't they? You know, you look at them, they're too bloody nice. And why are they too nice? Because Carrick's nice. Ollie's nice. McKenna's nice. There's nobody teaching them to be tough. So they're not going to be tough.
No, they're not going to be tough. And you can imagine, like, you know, they're just playing, because McKenna's come from the under 23s. It's like academy football, like pedestrian, so slow, square passes. It's just not the way the mate should be playing their football, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing it in results. And listen, I've got no qualms. They might go to Watford and win, you know, then beat Villarreal. I mean, we keep saying this every week, don't we? Yeah, you know, they kill. And this is where we are every week. We think, okay, well, we might win next week, and then we win 2 or 3 games, and everything's okay, and then we get hit with another bombshell where we get beat 4 or 5. I think at the end of the day, they've got to make it transparent. It's over there to the end of the season. None of all this bollocks about, oh, will you give them the Watford game until we find them? You know, you can't have it both ways. You either give them to the end of the season, or you're finding a replacement. If you find a replacement, then that means Ollie's got to be released off his duties to bring someone else. And Zize's waiting in the wings. You know, he talks about Conte being controversial. At the moment, the way this is going to mention, everything's controversial. We can see what's going on. You know, everyone's talking about Ollie going, the players throwing the toys at the pram, players leaking stuff into the press now. Now, this never happened at Make Up when I was playing. It was all kept internally. As soon as it starts getting out, like it did with Mourinho and Pogba and all the other players, you're in trouble. As soon as you sense the players have lost faith in you and belief in you, because they'll see right through you. All right? They'll see right through you. And now they're getting beat convincingly by the top teams. All of a sudden, there's little stuff that's leaking out about all these tacticians, and there's no belief and there's no development. This is the problem you've got now, and this might be a problem that the Glazers might have to look at and think, well, hang about. If the players are saying this, then we've got an issue. We need to do something about it, because it's been 2-3 years now, and I don't see any progression. I saw a little bit. Gary Neville kept on about last year. They finished second. And totally right. But there was no fans in the stadium. Liverpool had no defence. Chelsea were bang average.
Well, they sacked the manager, didn't they, halfway through the league, and won the Champions League. You know, it's
So yeah, you can't keep harping on about that, because that's what Gary Neville does. Keep saying, oh, well, they finished second. They finished second. But since they finished second, they haven't improved from that, and they've spent another £250 million, whatever it may be. They're supposed to be a better team when they finish now than they were when they finished second. Now they're sitting at 6th in the table. You know, Chelsea.
I think what fans struggle with, and you said there, you know, maybe we do beat Watford, maybe we do beat Villarreal, maybe we grind something out against Chelsea, and, you know, people will start saying, well, they were right to stick by Ollie, but they're not going to be right, because he's never going to play good football. He's never going to be a ruthless manager. He's never going to be an attacking coach. He's a conservative coach. If you look through his career, he's a reactive coach. So he's never going to get the fans back. I can't remember a time in football where a manager that basically should have been sacked turns it round. I can't think of one example. And this isn't just should be sacked. This is, you know, basically is sacked, but the club just refused to do it. So I think the thing United fans are struggling with at the moment is it's almost like a depression. It's like, you know, the season was meant to be with Ronaldo about hopefully trying to be in a title race. It's going to be a race for fourth at best. The football's not going to get any better. No one believes in the manager, and it's like, well, I just don't know what May seems a very long time away to go, let's give him the season, when he's already lost the fans. You know what that's like. It's like it will just get more and more toxic. I think they've got to make the change in the next 24 hours, but they're going to be making the change before Christmas if they don't. And I don't really see how they think how they can manipulate this into a positive, because you know what people are like. They're quite stubborn, and a lot of people didn't want to be Ollie out. They are Ollie out, and now they're like, I ain't coming back from this.
Listen, I think that United fans are probably, you know, very patient. You know what I mean, with their managers, and I think more so with Ollie. And you know, if you look at the Tottenham game, the way fans were brilliant. They're going over and clap Ollie, and we think, oh yeah, we've turned it around. This is the way forward. And you could just sense the frustration, you know, especially at Old Trafford on Saturday. And I was listening to the crowd, and they were trying to get behind the team, but then there was also that kind of sense of, you know, this is embarrassing. You know, this is for a Man United fan to watch the City team come here and just kick the ball for 5 minutes and just play with their slippers on. I'll say it, you know what I mean? And we are Man United, and when they get like that, you know, it's very rarely they do get like that, and then they start getting frustrated with the players, and you can sense the whole atmosphere just changed. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So, but you're right. I mean, I think I would go to Watford and win, and then we could go to Villarreal, and then people are going to say, well, this is just that's moving forward. And listen, as I said, I don't want Ollie to lose his job. You know what I mean? I don't want him to lose his job, but I do fear for Ollie when you hear players come out and say, you know, we haven't got no belief and the tactics are wrong and the training's this and that. You know, you see it all the time. And I'm not saying they've thrown the towel in, because I don't think as players yourself, when you play for Man United, whether you're good enough or not, you should never throw the towel in. You know, and Man United should play for the biggest club in the world. It should always be your dream, or one of the biggest clubs in the world should always be your dream. You know, and it seems like a burden to a lot of these players to play for Manchester United. And that's why they're not Manchester United players, because they can't carry the expectations and they haven't got the quality and talent to do that, and the togetherness to do the unity that they need, you know, to get through these stages. And that's unfortunately that's the way I see it. And yeah, when the crowd, Man United fans, start turning on you, then you are in trouble. And it's not all of them, you know, but you can sense and hear the frustrations when you listen to it. And you want to fault that, you know what I mean? You want to fault that when, you know, a few years back, you know, you want to fault that. But we are where we are now, and, you know, the board have to decide which way they're going to go. And all I want to know, and all you want to know is it end of the season, or is it Watford game until we find a replacement? Everything's all up in the air. It's all confusion. And that's what you see at Man United at the moment. You see a confused team. You see confused players. Everyone looks bloody confused to me.
It lacks leadership from top to bottom. And, you know, we speak about Sir Alex, you know, you can't imagine what it's like to play under Solskjaer compared to what it would have been like to play under Sir Alex, who was a proper leader. And, you know, this club is... I sympathise with the players. I know they're on good money and everything, but I just think that they're kidding themselves if they think this guy's a proper coach or that they're being coached properly. The contrast that a Liverpool or a Manchester City, if they went in there for a week compared to what they're doing at United, would be ridiculous. And their careers are being destroyed or held back by the last 2 years, certainly at United under this setup. But I think also what was it like at United when you were there? Not just Sir Alex, but the board above it. Did you sense that they were football people? Because the feeling at United now is that, well, it's a business. There's no football people in there.
Yeah, you're right. No, listen, when you went to play for Man United in my time, you didn't look at it as a business. You looked at it. This is Manchester United. This is the most famous club in the world, and this club you've got to win trophies at. You know what I mean? You're here because for a reason. You're here because you're one of the best players in that position in the world or in Europe. That's why. That's the reason why you go to Manchester United. You know, that's the reason why you go. So the likes of Martin Edwards, it was football man. He was there every time we come down to training ground. He'd talk about football. He'd talk about this, and you know, he was part of the team. You know, even though, you know, he was sat there, he was part of the team. The lads loved him. You know, they really, really did. But then you could talk about Archie Knox. You know what I mean? Talk about Brian Kidd. You talk about Eric Harrison. You know, all these people that filtered down underneath Sir Alex people were winners. Had standards of the club. All right, that's the most important thing. They had standards of the club, and you couldn't get away with anything. And it was a football club, and it was a DNA of Manchester United. Now it's more commercial. It's more about, you know, as I say, putting bums in seats, selling T-shirts, you know, and it's not about that. Well, the model's gone. It's not about that. The winning mentality that Man United should have, that has gone. And that's the saddest thing about it, because it hasn't gone at Liverpool. Yeah, listen, Liverpool didn't win the title for 30 years, but now they've got it now. We didn't win it for 26 years, you know, and we're getting away from how we were and what we stand for, you know, as a club. And that's because the Glazers don't really give a monkeys about the fans, you know, nor does Edward Woodward. And it's left to Ollie, to be fair, who's inexperienced as a manager. Mick feeling that whatever he does, I don't know. You got, you know, no, seriously, you got Carrick who's learning his way, and a young kid from the under 23s running a big club where you got stars like Ronaldo, Pogba, Fernandes. You know, I can't imagine Kenner going to Ronaldo, "Oi, get yourself in here. You ain't good enough." It won't happen. If Fergie said it, or Archie Knox or Brian Kidd, they'll soon bloody do it. All right. So, you know, you can't be bigger than the club. And I just feel at the moment that these players, these stars, are bigger than Ollie. I think they're bigger than the staff. All right. And I think they're just doing what they want to do. I think they're just running riot and acting how they want to act. You know, and whether Ronaldo's the main vocal of it or Pogba, you know what I mean? There's no, I'll say that there's no control in the club, because I think players are just doing what they want to do and trying how they want to try. And if things go shit like they have done, they're going, oh, well, it's not our fault, it's Ollie's, it's their. They have to look at their responsibility. They have to look at themselves as a team. You know, they have to get together and say, well, listen, if we don't believe in Ollie, or we don't believe in the tactics or the way he sets their team out, then we as a team, as a unit, have to make sure we go and do what we have to do on the pitch and take it in our own hands to do that. And if Ollie doesn't like it, then so be it. But they're not doing it because they're all fragmented, and you can see it. You can see they're all fragmented and not together. There's no togetherness, and that's what worries me about this. And something's got to change. Whether it's the manager, whether it's the results, something has to change, because the fans won't keep putting up with that. As I said, we knew it was going to be a tough period, Marky. Liverpool, City, Chelsea. I mean, Leicester. Leicester's the one. People haven't mentioned Leicester. People are going on about, you know.
It's been forgotten, hasn't it? Yeah.
It's forgotten. We got beat 4-2 by Leicester. Should have been 8. We forget about that. We lost to Villa. Just sacked their manager. You know, these are the things. And you're right what you say. There's something there that we're not aware of. Boy, they're not making a decision, the Glazers. There's something that we can't see, that they're not saying, right, he's here to the end of the season, stop the fucking moaning, or he's gone. Or he's got one more game or 2 more games. We're not getting nothing. There's nothing crystal clear, but all we're getting is little snippets from players who are now starting to throw their toys out the pram. You know, and
well, they're definitely not acting like a football club, because we've seen Villa do it, we've seen Spurs do it. There's something going on, and it's not football related. And it could be, like you said, Ed Woodward doesn't want to sack him and he's going in December. It could be something major, like they're trying to sell the club. It could be that the Glazers want their dividends at the end of the year and they don't want to spend it on getting a new manager in. But it's not football related. And this is, you know, and we're not going to go into this, but the reality is it's not football related, because any football club would have made the choice. If you look through history, they definitely would have sacked him. And they've not done it. So there is something sinister there, and it's not for football reasons. And this is why the pressure should never have gone off the Glazers in the summer when they came out and did that meeting and lied about being more communicative. You know, we're not a football club, and any football fan that thinks we are is deluded, because this is not a footballing decision. There's something going on as to why they won't do it, why they're trying to get to the end of the season. What football club, the size of Manchester United or a Liverpool example, sits there in November in this position and goes, we'll just get to the end of the season, and writes a season off when 3 months later than this, Chelsea sacked their manager and won the Champions League? You can't write off 75% of the season just because you want to get to the end of it, when you still could make a change and, you know, start rebuilding, maybe win a trophy, which is never going to happen under the current coach. It's weird. It is very weird.
No, it is. It is weird. And as you said, I thought it might have been Sir Alex, because obviously when the shit hit the fan last week, he was at the training ground, and Ollie couldn't wait to come out and say, yeah, well, I'm with Sir Alex, which as if, you know, he's trying to sort things out. But you're absolutely spot on. You know, Edward Woodward, to me, has always backed Ollie. He's Ollie's man. He's always stood by him. Even last year when the shit hit the fan, he stood by him. So Edward Woodward obviously make that decision. Unless he's getting pressures from the Glazers, which he ain't, because obviously they're happy to just take their money out, then the decision will solely be Edward Woodward's decision, I'll presume. There'll be no influence from any other people.
It's mates' rates then, isn't it? I don't want to sack my mate.
And that's what's going to happen, because there have been situations where people have said, oh, Ollie's under pressure. He could lose his job. He could go, and Edward Woodward has stood by him. Is this another situation? You might be spot on. Are we waiting to December before he hands over the reins to someone else? You know what I mean? I don't know. But ultimately, what I do know is that, you know, something's got to happen, because you're talking about 4th position, and we're not guaranteed to get 4th. Don't be kidding saying, oh, you know, we're going to get 4th, because we've seen a resurgence of Arsenal. You know, there's a lot of teams up there, you know, that could get 4th. We might not be in the Champions League next year. So you can imagine next season,
Ronaldo will be gone. He won't be playing the Europa.
Pogba will be gone. No Champions League football. You know, this is what you've got to be careful of. And I think the likes of Greenwood and Rashford, the talented Manchester United kids, you know what I mean, have come through the ranks. And if they get pissed off, they're not getting any time, then they should say they're not going to move.
They will, yeah.
Then we start when we could start all over again, spend another £500 million on trying to get the right players in. So you can see where we could go with this. It can go one way or the other, and that's why I think as a hierarchy, they've got to look at the long term. You know, this has been 3 years now, and we've not seen the progression that we'd like to have seen at United. The wholesale problems now, as I've said. So they have to decide which way they want to go with this, and but ultimately, at the end of the day, the players are the ones on the pitch, you know, and they do get paid a big amounts to perform. As you know, they do get paid to perform, Marky. And there's no, whether the manager doesn't give them leadership or direction, they still get paid to perform and run around and not hide and not, you know, be brave and get on the ball and try and make things happen. They do. There's enough players that you can do that, you know, to galvanise the team. So there's no excuses for them. You know, you can't get embarrassed like we did against Liverpool, like we did against City. You can't get embarrassed, and that's what it was. It was an embarrassing performance. You know, it was. If that had been me or Keane, would have probably been sent off after 85 minutes because we'd have been that embarrassed. Would have kicked someone and got.
Yeah, well, that at least shows something, innit?
Yeah, it might show stupidity, but the players are not showing me nothing. You know, and I'm sick and tired of them keep coming out and saying this, we're sorry, and there's no belief in the second half, and we've had it all the time. You know, now it's down to going and performing and winning games, and that's what they've not been doing. And they've got a chance on 2 weeks' time against Watford and Villarreal and Chelsea, and then let's see where we are after that, Marky. We could be in the same boat, or we could be moving forward again with Ollie. Who knows?
Exactly. We'll just have to wait and see, mate. We'll just have to wait and see. But look, it's been a pleasure having you on, speaking facts as per usual, and you know, enjoy your international break.
I hate international break. I hate it. You know what I mean? I just can't be asked. You know what I mean? I love the Premier League and the Champions League, and then when you get international break and it's like England versus Andorra or you think, fuck's sake, who wants to watch that?
San Marino, I think, on Friday or something. Got bullshit like that.
You got what?
I think they're playing San Marino or something.
Yeah, that's something like that. That's just not a game's worth watching. So, but what I do, there's some games on in South America, the qualifiers. So Brazil are playing and Peru and Argentina. So
you just love Fred. You just want to watch more of Fred, don't you?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to watch Fred. All right, I'm going to watch Fred because as much as I sort of told you last time, when Fred played for Brazil, he looked a half decent player. All right, I know you don't believe me, but do me a favour, Marky. Just record it. All right, it's on 4-1-2. I've come with Brazil playing. Just have a look at Fred because when he plays for them, he seems completely different than when he plays for Manchester United. He really does.
Surprised. It's the coach. This is the thing. It's the coaching. Sack the manager. It's as simple as that for me. I know you can't say that, but it's obvious. It's the coaching to me.
Well, listen, Fred's not the only one. And as much as Kinney's saying get hold of Fred and say why are you playing Fred, you can say that about 3 or 4 players at the moment. He really good. So Fred's had enough stick from us, and I think it's not just about one man band. I think there's other.
He was no worse than McTominay, and they're playing in the midfield. He was no worse than McTominay at the weekend. So I don't know why Fred got all the blame. And again, I just think it's easy to target the foreign players. We seem to do that a lot.
Exactly right. But I mean, Wan-Bissaka, when he first came to United, just to finish on this note, is that we never knew he was never attacking fullback. All right, it was just in a 4. At Palace, that's what it was good at. Okay, so his party piece was that little sliding tackle where all the fans go, yeah. But he cost United so many goals just from his positional play, where he got caught in too close, coming behind him. He did it last year in the Champions League, in the Europa League. Sorry. So his positional sense has been really poor since he's been at the club. We saw it again against City the other day. Cancelo gets the ball and he moves out the way. He takes a step to his right. But the amount of times he got caught in at the far post where teams have scored against him, that has not changed one little bit. No one's pulling him aside and said, listen, this is what we're coaching. Every afternoon, out in the training ground, we're going to put you in these situations, you put you in these scenarios, and we're going to make you a better player. So when you go on the pitch, there's an improvement. We saw against Atalanta at Old Trafford, down the left-hand side. We saw it with Liverpool with the fullbacks, down both sides. We saw it again on Saturday, both sides. We haven't done anything about it. Yet the last 3-4 games, we've been annihilated down the wings and not done anything about it. That's 3 games down the line. So somebody tell me that. Somebody answer me that question. Why have we not done anything about it?
Coaches are crap.
I'm going to finish on that note.
Coaches are crap. Thanks for coming on, Paul. Enjoyed it as ever. Have a good week.
See you soon, mate. Have a good week, Marky. Take care,
You
mate.
too, mate. Take care.
Bye.
Love that as per usual with Paul. He won't say Ollie out because he's a bloody player, ex-player, isn't he? None of them want to say it, but I think we know. It's all about the coaching, as I said. We will be back later. I think we might be live at 2:00. I think Ricky wants to come on, and obviously, if anything breaks, we'll go live, and we've got the normal 8:00 show. I still think he's going to get sacked. I might be completely naive, but I really think he's going to get sacked. There was some talk about him. We're not actually training today, which might make sense because it's an international break, so they might give him 2 days off. I don't know whether that's true or not, but apparently we're not training today, which is. Maybe there'll be a meeting today, maybe they won't. But I still think he'll be sacked because I just can't believe he's not been sacked. Like, the players are turning against him. The fans have had enough of it. The football's crap. The only reason he's in a job is because of something more sinister, which is not football related, which we don't know what it is. So I think he will be sacked. But I'm probably going to get proved wrong on that. But I do think he'll be sacked. This morning, we're getting little bits of leaks that the club are going to stick by him. But it's not firmly sticking by him. It's almost like the club accepts they've got to sack him, but they haven't got anybody else to come in at the moment. Well, as I said, get Paul Ince in, get Roy Keane in. You know, I don't really want ex-players, I must admit, but ultimately a change needs to happen. And what needs to happen is it can't just be Ollie. It's got to be the coaches as well. They're as much to blame. They're a management team. Never just people talk about Ollie. Oh, I've been Ollie out for 2 years, this, that, and the other. I've heard people be Ollie out for 2 years, but I haven't heard people mentioning Carrick or McKenna or Phelan for 2 years. It's so easy to say, oh, get rid of Ollie, you know, talk after a match and say, get rid of Ollie, get rid of Ollie. But do you actually understand how that football club is run? Because it's a management team. It's Carrick, McKenna, Phelan, and Ollie. Ollie does the interviews. Ollie, it says manager next to, but it's a management team. He doesn't coach the team. He said it numerous occasions. They're a management team. So all these people who've been saying Ollie out for 2 years, you need to expand it to what it actually is. It's Ollie and his coaches out because they are a management team and they've all got to go. And what terrifies me is they'll remove Ollie, bring somebody in as an interim and keep the coaches, and the problems won't change. Anyway, look, hopefully we'll be live at some point with a change at Manchester United. If not, we'll be live at 2 as per usual and 8:00 tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.